Okay. Okay, the regular meeting of the Township of Ocean Planning Board will be in session. Rachel, how are you?
I'm okay.
Okay, good. All right, could we have the roll call when you get a chance?
Mr. Hatera?
Here.
Mr. Brody?
Here.
Dr. Benedetto?
Here.
Mr. DeFiglia?
Here.
Mr. Duffy?
Yep. Here.
Mr. Good? Ms. Close? Here.
He said he was feeling very good 2 weeks ago. A week ago, not so good.
Mr. Sienna?
Here. Yeah.
Mr. Weinstein? Chairman Morelli?
Here. Can we have the salute to the flag, please?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rachel?
That's mine.
Never mind.
You took my stuff.
Wait, I didn't.
Well, I haven't. It's one day. Wouldn't even call it a party.
Thank you. That's all.
Yeah.
I have it.
Katie, thank you. These are mine.
Where are we here? What you do? Okay.
See.
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Law for this meeting have been satisfied. A copy of the notice having been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster and filed in the office of the Township Clerk on July 25th, 2018. There are emergency exits through the courtroom doors and 2 exits at the rear of the room. We do have a no smoking policy. Also, there are no new cases that will be started after 10:30 p.m. and no new testimony will be taken after 11 p.m. In addition, the applicant will be limited to 1 hour of testimony. All meetings will be video and audio taped and shown on the Township of Ocean's Community Cable Channel, Channel 22 on Verizon Fios, and Channel 77 on Cablevision. All cell phones must be turned off, or if you need to make a call, please make your call outside the meeting room. Now we have minutes for approval. October 22nd, 2018, which was a regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve. Second.
Stuck in.
Mr. Sarah?
Here. Yes.
Mr. Brody?
Yes.
Mr. DeFiglia?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
And Chairman Morelli?
Yes. Next, we have minutes for approval from November 19th, 2018, the regular meeting. Would somebody please make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Who seconded it? Dr. Benedetto?
Yes.
Mr. DeFiglia?
Yes.
Ms. Close?
She see me? Yes.
Mr. Sienna?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
And Chairman Morelli?
Yes. Next, under continued cases, number 1, we have Deal Development Corporation, Block 34, Lot 3.02807, Deal Road, Ocean, New Jersey, Zone C-2. This is postponed to our next regular meeting of February 25th, 2019. And
Can we just note for the record that Mr. Weinstein is here?
certainly.
Here.
Okay. Well, first tonight we'll start off with Norwood Avenue Holdings. Ms. Krimko, Block 13, Lot 17.01, 232 Norwood Avenue, Oakhurst, Zone C-1.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Jennifer Krimko, on behalf of the applicant. I can't tell you how sorry I am that I missed the last meeting. But I'm here now. As I gathered from the last meeting, the board expressed some safety concerns, just based generally, even though there were no experts about them, but we heeded your concerns and revised the plans to accommodate them. The revisions to the plans, as you'll see in Bill and Jim's report, are we added a base to the building, so it's not all glass. We are proposing to put the bollards along the curb line. And we will be proposing to put the warning signs upstream or to the north on Route 71. We have filed the application already to the DOT. We've given a copy with our application with regard to the bollards as well as the no left turn out of Jerome. The one thing that we still have to do is submit the application for the upstream warning signs, and the reason that hasn't been done is quite a bit of additional survey work needs to be done in order to prepare that plan. We did discuss it with Bill, he's aware of it, and we will submit it. What we're seeking from you tonight, obviously, since we've done everything you've asked and we've concluded all of the other testimony, is an approval based on what has been submitted, with the caveat that if the DOT approves these additional items, being the no left turn, the bollards, and the upstream signage, then we will install them. If they say, no, we have jurisdiction and we recognize the town has that concern, but you can't do it, then the board accept that. So I think what we're asking for is an approval conditioned on the DOT having the final say as to what happens in its right-of-way. I think I summarized that all, right? So
Very well done. Now,
I'd like to move some revised plans in just to get them into
go right
evidence.
ahead.
I believe we left off, was there an 810, Rachel?
I know.
Okay, because Rick just had question marks next to 810, so I didn't know.
I haven't read it.
Fine, perfect. So then, 810, to make it easy, are the revised plans prepared by Nelson Engineering Associates. They're revised through January 16th, 2019. A11 is our January 16th, 2019 submission to the New Jersey Department of Transportation by Nelson Engineering.
Is that the letter?
No.
Well, just the letter I'm moving, yeah. Because you have the plan, it's the same plan.
Okay.
And then 812 is the revised plans by Parallel Architecture, and that's revised through, I think it's January 18th, 2019?
Yeah,
And what I can do, Mr. Chair, members of the board, we can stipulate to everything in Bill and Jim's letters. Jim, was there another letter by you or no? I don't think so. Okay, so just, Bill had some cleanup points
Right.
in his letter, and those were just oversights because we were focusing on getting it in time for the DOT, and we can comply with everything in your letter.
Okay, that would be fine.
Yeah,
Now, Bill.
If I might summarize, Mr. Chairman.
You're
very
going to
briefly.
summarize your January 26, 2019 report, correct?
Correct, which is written upon the most recent documents entered into evidence. Having said that, most of this is technical cleanup on the site plan, nothing of any consequence. However, I just wanted to explain, because I'm sure some of you are wondering what the upstream stuff is. We didn't talk about it.
Oh, I didn't realize that wasn't in there. I'm sorry.
It's not in there because I'm just
Okay.
trying to save writing time.
Okay.
Writer's cramp. Having listened to the general public's comments, the board's concerns, and I understand that the board asked for the no left turn and the bollards. I think I expressed my concern that they're not a standard issue, if you will, and there's some chance that the DOT may not want to consider that. Having said that, I looked at the situation and said, well, under the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices, there are legitimate upstream warning signs. For example, hill blocks view, intersection ahead, those kind of things. So I sent some copies of that to Jennifer and the applicant's engineer and said, amend your application to include the appropriate upstream warning signs, so that not only are we trying to incorporate the recommendations that the board had and we've discussed with the public, but some also standard items right in the traffic control device manual that is nationally used. So if the DOT doesn't approve some or all of it, then we have no choice. But I think between listening to the public and the board, the applicant is trying to do everything, and me, the applicant is trying to do everything conceivable to get this as safe as possible.
So
I have no problem with a conditional approval or any action of the board, but if you do approve it, I'd love it conditioned on the items in my letter.
Right. So your letter is included in your letter to the DOT?
No.
No. What?
Okay. What I have, if you'll notice, Mr. Chairman, there's some correspondence that I cited in my letter under the documents reviewed. One of them refers to a correspondence of applicant's engineer with the DOT, in which he told them that we're applying for the left turn in the bollards right now, and the
Right.
application will be the upstream sign plan will be sent under separate cover.
Okay,
So,
that's fine. Did a very nice job, Bill.
what?
Covering that. That's good. That's very good. Okay.
So I didn't intend to introduce my witnesses because there's really nothing new for them to testify to. The plans speak for themselves. I summarized the changes, and I think Bill, we're complying with Bill's letter.
Rendering, I just see that the plans have.
Oh, that wasn't moved in the rendering?
No. There's not a rendering in the
Okay.
packet, please.
I believe I submitted it. I do have one. The rendering, just so you know, one of the other things, and again, I will say that this applicant went above and beyond than they had to, because if this is essentially a conforming application. They wanted a building with red trim. They submitted it. There's no architectural standards in Ocean Township. We could certainly have a red building if we want one. However, in an effort to compromise to the neighbors across the street, who said, we don't want to look at a red building, even though we bought across from a town that doesn't have architectural standards, we said, okay, we will soften it for you. So I do have a rendering. I can move that in. And what this rendering shows is the color scheme that is now proposed after speaking to the neighbors. I will note it still has a glass front because we were not going to spend the money to pay the architect to update this rendering for purposes of adding the base. The sole purpose of this is to show you the colors now that we're proposing and that there's no longer bright red involved.
But to be clear, the current architectural plan, which is just entered as a whatever, has the solid
Correct.
base that the board asked for.
And that's what we're proposing. The rendering is just for purposes of color. So I'll hand them out for everybody, and we'll move them in. We're 813. Yeah, of course. And we're willing to be bound by this color scheme, even though the board really doesn't have the authority to do it. But
Well, the board wasn't really asking for the color, it was looking for a rendering of the bollards, like we spoke last meeting, of the bollards and how the building was gonna look with
Okay.
the added
okay, well that's
base.
okay. Well that's
That's
in the
what we
Okay.
asked for.
Okay, I wasn't here, so
I'm just saying, but you keep on hammering us about the red color.
No, I thought that he was asking for a rendering of it. So this is
I was. But, so you're telling us this is not a rendering of the building,
This
it's
is-
just for the color?
This is a rendering for the color. The architectural plans we submitted shows you the base.
Yeah, no, I see that, but there's no rendering of it.
I wasn't aware that
Thank you.
needed a rendering of that. The bollards, if you look at the plans we moved in,
Yeah, the whole discussion was about the bollards and the,
the bollards are going to be at the curb line, not in front of the building. There will be no bollards in front of the building.
Bollards are depicted on the site plan also, spacing and location and detail.
Are they on the,
Correct.
They're on the site plan, yes. So if you look at the site plan, the bollards are being proposed up the curb line. So they wouldn't necessarily be shown as part of a rendering. And the structural details on the architectural plans.
Is it in the big packet? Sorry, my bad.
Mr. Sano, I don't know what's in your packet.
Sheet
but-
3 of 9. What is it? 3 of 9.
Okay.
And when you get there, while you get there, can I ask Jen a question,
Sure.
Mr. Chairman? Can I ask, Jen, so 3 of 9, you're on it?
Yeah, yep.
So help me understand, without looking for the key. So I get where the bollards are.
Correct.
I get to the right of the, I mean, they're, like you said, they're right on the curb line. So the line to the right of the bollards is the curb.
Correct.
Okay. Then there's this big, and then you got all these pretty little cloud thing that shows all the bollards.
The
and
cloud is,
defines.
the cloud is for the purpose of showing the changes.
Right. So then my question is, the big, dark, thick black line.
Our property lines.
Thank you. Okay.
So,
this,
and I apologize, I'd asked the board to look at sheet 3 of 9. The solution was twofold. One, it would be horribly unattractive to put the bollards up against the building. So that's being, the structure of the building
Yep.
is going to act as the bollard, so, which is shown on the elevation that was submitted. The bollards are being proposed at the curb line along the front. And that's shown on sheet 3 of 9.
so the sidewalk, I know this sounds solid, but bear with me. So the sidewalk goes to the building.
Correct,
Right. Okay.
correct.
That,
And
it was that black line that was wrong.
no, the dark
Thank
line is just our property line.
Thank you.
So, you said they said it was glass going all the way to the ground. How high up is the,
If the board would look at the plans we moved in,
Something like that.
it goes up 34 inches.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
So the bollards come down Route 71 from Jerome.
Right.
Are there any curving around on Jerome or not? There's just start there. Okay, so do you know how many bollards there are
Yes.
and what the spacing is between the bollards?
There's typical spacing is 10 feet between, and the bollards 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 appears to be 9.
90 feet? Okay, just curious.
I'm not an engineer. Our engineer designed it. It didn't seem that Bill had an issue with the spacing, so we assumed it was correct for purposes of bollards.
All right, so I guess my question would be is, in the event that the DOT nicks the bollards, how come you only came up 34 inches?
Because, respectfully, there's nothing on the record other than speculation of the neighbors that this is a safety concern. So let's start there.
I have a safety concern. It's very close to the street.
You asked a question, so just let me answer it, okay?
Okay.
So there's nothing on the record by any of the licensed professionals that the board pays to review this for these purposes and compliance with your ordinance that there's a legitimate safety concern. So that's one. Two, we have the building setback, the setback that's permitted under your ordinance. If there was a safety concern on a grander scale at having buildings this close to a highway or a property line, then it's your governing body's job to consider life, health, and safety when drafting their ordinance and include a provision that, yes, you can have a 5-foot setback, but if you have one, you have to put bollards up to protect it. There's nothing in your ordinance that says you can't have glass, you have to put bollards, you have to put signs upstream, you have to have a left turn. Nothing's in your ordinance that says that. So, as far as your ordinance is concerned, we're in full compliance. So, we went the extra steps to make the attempt at the applicant's cost to address concerns that were raised by the neighbors across the street. There was no traffic. There were no police reports to support that that's an issue here. There was no engineer that testified there was an issue here. There was a question about how fast cars are going to be coming over a highway. We're addressing it. No left turn. We're proposing to put the signage upstream. We're proposing to put the bollards, and we're compromising what is the dream of this applicant's facade to comply with a request not founded in the ordinance, just based on, well, I'm a little nervous about the speed. We're putting it in. We're doing it. So again, because we don't want to compromise the design of our building. That's why it's only 34 inches.
Got it.
No different than if it was up No different than if it was up 3 or 4 feet and a car hit a ramp and went flying through and went. We don't believe it's we don't believe it's going, based on our experts and your board's experts, we don't believe that there is a safety issue here any more than anywhere else in town or any other shop along Route 71. We're willing to add to it a little bit, but the architect spent a lot of time and energy designing what he considers to be a beautiful building that the applicant wanted to construct, and that's what we're proposing. And again, I mean, Bill, Do you have a thought on it? And I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I thought I said it. The curvature in the road is clockwise here. And if you have a tendency to miss the curve, you're going away from the building. So I really don't have a concern that cars are going to get routinely nudged off the road. I think that was, I don't, that's why I wanted the upstream signage, because I really in my heart don't think that the DOT is going to go with the bollards. Having said that, I support, your opinions 110%, and we tried to get them, and the applicant went with it and said, but to be safe, that was why I said, well, take a look at the upstream signage. It's at least compliant with the regulations, and if they don't give it to you, they're the ones that created the bridge. This was probably in the old days, and that great intersection that they said, oh, we can't have this. We'll put the bridge up, and now they can.
And to go one step further, we are going to be, I believe that the original hearing that I was at, there's going to be parking there. So we anticipate knowing that when this site is the busiest, there's likely going to be cars parked along there anyway.
Right, but to be honest, they got to be like 50 feet from the edge of the curb line at the intersection.
Okay.
There's not going to be as much parking as, it's not going to be parked right to the corner. It can't be, it's against the law. So having said that, and also if we're not stopping intersection movements, you're saying no left turn, but you can still go straight, so they got to be able to look to the south. You can't have cars, there won't be that much parking in front. It's a small site. But there will be some.
Are you done, Jennifer?
I think the applicant's done everything they can do and then some. It's up to the DOT. I mean, they got to recognize with all this that there's some concern on the part of people in town that have to act on these things. And they
the fact that you included those upstream signs in your letter shows that there was concern by the town. So I think you did a very good job.
Pointed out in his correspondence that the reason that this is going this way, and we're asking is because the planning board, members of the planning board, and people in the general public had issues and had concerns, and we're asking them to help address them.
Any other questions from any board members? No? Well, I guess it's time to open this up to commentary from the general public. If anyone would like to step up and has a comment, I welcome you to step up here and give your name and your address and let us know how you feel.
Richard, this is day 13.
Good evening again. I need to give my name and my address. Okay, Leah Harari, 34 Pleasant Place, right across the street from this site.
Is that mic on?
Is it on?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can
Leah
take
Harari.
Take that thing out of the way, so.
Take this thing.
Yeah, so
okay.
you're closer.
Okay. My name is Leah Harari, 34 Pleasant Place in Deal, across the street from the site area. So I had a couple of concerns. You weren't here last meeting, Jennifer, and your expert, the engineer, said that he conducted an OPRA. I did too. There were accidents. I had a list of at least 4 accidents. His was actually very much limited in scope to the corner of Jerome and Norwood, which is a dead intersection right now. That's the mikvah. There's nothing going on there. But it was conducted properly in Oprah in front of this property on Norwood Avenue, because I had to go back. I couldn't understand why I was coming up with data and none of that data was supported here. Because it's in front of the property on Norwood Avenue. It's not that corner of Jerome and Norwood, because that's a dead spot. That was one thing that I had a concern. Second was the engineer did mention that the visibility is low, that there's some radius going on that we can't see from all aspects of the intersection. So there was a legitimate concern that the engineer had that he presented here. Am I mistaken? Wasn't there some visibility issue regarding coming off of the bridge?
My engineer did not testify that he had a concern. He may have answered the question with regard to a sight triangle as it was making a left turn coming out of Jerome, and we've resolved that by eliminating a left turn out.
Well, that's only if the Department of Transportation approves of it. Is that correct?
I don't know, the left turn
Correct.
subject to the DOT.
Right.
Right,
So
that's correct.
again, you're asking for approval based on that happening
Well,
or not happening,
well, no,
or not happening.
In fairness, we're asking for approval for effectively a conforming application with some off-site concerns. The case law is pretty clear that if the zoning allows for it and you're complying with the zoning requirements, a traffic or safety issue off-site is not really something that is in the board's jurisdiction to consider. That being said, we made every effort we can to make it safe, but the ingress and egress to our site off of Jerome, there's no question as to safety. So if there's an existing condition that needs to be looked at in town, that may be, but we're doing everything as it relates to our application and how we are going to add or not add to that problem in order to address it.
So there was a proposal by the lawyer, who was here last month, and he said if it's recessed 10 feet, if they eliminated 2 parking spots and recessed the building a few more feet, that could be possible. I don't think Mr. Greenstein liked that idea, so he kind of pushed that aside.
Well, everything's possible. It would be possible to set this building back by the railroad tracks and not have any building up front, but again, that isn't the proposal that's before the board, because that would be an empty building and there would be no retailer that would go there because it's not practical. So we looked at what the ordinance allows, we heard the concerns of the neighbors,
Right.
and we heard the concerns of the board, and we adapted the proposal to the extent that we could within reason to make it a viable project.
I don't think 10 feet is that much to ask for, and it's a safety issue.
Well, again, the 10 feet would put us over a sewer easement.
If I might, this is for comment. Okay, it's not about a dialogue for an hour.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, you're allowed to make your
Okay.
comments.
Okay.
You have a problem.
Okay.
If you have evidence, you're saying you have traffic.
For father, so
If
it's
you have
just
evidence-
the courtesy of answering the
Okay.
question.
Well, I
Thank
understand
you.
that, but I mean, bottom line is this has been going. This is the third meeting now, and
Right.
and you're certainly allowed to make your comments.
Okay.
If you're allowed to offer the results of your Oprah request as evidence,
Okay.
backing them up.
Right.
If you don't,
Okay.
you know,
I hear
they're
you.
not on the record.
Okay.
I mean, your opinion is certainly what you found is
Right.
you're allowed to say the 10 feet. But I
Okay.
don't think we're.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair, I
So-
apologize. I represented her father for the last 15 years, I guess. So just out of courtesy, I was
Okay, that's fine.
trying to offer the
I
information.
know, but we
I'm sorry,
We got a
I'm sorry.
process.
But they'll get me out of here sooner, so that's
No,
good.
it's
It's
not
good. We
good.
had a dialogue. Okay. The last thing is Mr. Gindi sends his apologies that he couldn't make it. He was at a wedding in Phoenix. He's on a plane. He wanted to be here, and he also had.
You can't say anything
I'm not allowed to
you
say that.
wanted to say.
Oh, okay,
I'm sorry.
fine.
You
Okay,
can only say
so
what you wanted to say.
right. Okay, so I shouldn't say I was prepped to ask this question.
You have, there's
The,
no
the
right
width,
there. No, there's no
I
right.
don't
already
know.
did.
I don't know if this is a real issue or not, but
It's
he
comment.
claims he
It's
went with
comment.
he went with the ruler along
You
Norwood
can't-
Avenue.
You can't offer that. He's not here. You can't offer that.
Oh, okay. So I tried. You're gonna tell him that I tried.
Yes, I will.
Okay. So I guess I'm
He can
done.
He can watch it.
What's that?
He can watch it.
Oh, okay. I appreciate everyone's. Is that a comment? Am I allowed to make that
Yes,
comment?
yes,
I
sure.
appreciate that you took us seriously, the neighbors, and Jennifer. I do appreciate Mr. Greenstein also taking the time to. It would have been nice if we had seen the revised plans. We didn't. I didn't think to get in touch with you.
I would have sent it to you if you did.
Yes, I do know. You've always been good with that. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who has a comment on this application? No members of the general public having further comments. Would somebody please make a motion to close this portion?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Nah, I've been sitting down all day. Yes.
Mr. Bowden?
Yes.
Dr. DiBenedetto?
Yes.
Mr. Biglia?
Yes.
Mr. Duffy?
Yes.
Ms. Close?
Yes.
Mr. Sienna?
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein?
Yes.
Chairman Barrow?
Yes. Would anyone please make a motion to have a vote on this application?
I make a motion to approve the application.
Second.
Who seconded, Mr. Chairman?
I did.
Conditioned on the things that we just.
Conditioned on the what's contained in Mr. Fitzgerald's letter and what's contained in Jennifer's a letter to the DMV,
DOT.
DOT,
And John Belletta's letter to DOT.
and John Balessa's letter as well. But either way it goes, this is still a vote on the approval of this application.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Mr. Brody,
Yes.
Dr. DiBenedetto,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Duffy,
Yes.
Ms. Luciano,
Yes.
Mr. Weinstein,
Yes.
and Chairman Burley.
Yes. Okay,
Thank you. I'm sorry.
approved.
Sorry, I got a little
that's okay. Very good.
Is that what you call it,
upset when I
animated?
read this under the meeting that I wasn't here. I wanted to shoot myself.
Are you still in pain
Okay, next.
from the accident?
Oh, no. No, I got Friday. I went to the doctor and I'm clear for
Okay.
Friday.
Apparently your aim was
Well,
bad.
maybe that's why you were.
Yeah.
I said I wanted to. I didn't say I
That's
tried.
approved. DOT, whatever they do, they do.
No, now if I get rid of this cough, I'd be great.
Go to some warm weather.
Hmm?
Go to some warm weather.
Last time she did, she broke up herself.
No. The last time I was in warm
No, they
weather
kept
over New
coming.
Year's, I got this cold.
They did all they could do.
Have a good night. Good luck. You bet. Nice job.
Okay.
All right, I'm staying.
Yes, very nice.
Let's see if I can next guy.
Okay, Jennifer, next case is,
Franco showed tonight. Sorry, guys. I'll just one hopefully
Always the
quicker.
Jennifer.
In my head, yes.
okay, well, on the list now we have case number 3, Brielle Avenue LLC. Block 184, lots 1 and 4, 1304-1306 Brielle Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey, zone, I guess it's I-1.
Thank you. For the record, Jennifer Krimko, on behalf of the applicant, and just, I know the board knows, but just for the public's and for the videotape listening, the reason why a lot of this is just me offering the plans and having Bill and Jim offer is that they've been very kind to meet with us in technical review meetings to bang out all of these technical issues before it gets to the board. So there have been revision after revision after revision, and anyone who looks at the files would see how many submissions have actually been made on this one and on the Norwood Holdings one, because we're trying to address all of their concerns in advance of any meeting. We did have a chance to go over his comments. I know that Bill met with our engineer as well as talked to him numerous times. We did make an attempt to address all of his concerns. I don't think we were there exactly. However, as I understand it, any of the changes that would need to be made are technical in nature and won't affect the site layout. As it's currently proposed, it's really drainage details, adding trees, and the like. So, I believe you got all the testimony at the last meeting in December or what we going?
December.
October.
December.
Okay. So all of the testimony was done, and it was just subject to satisfying Bill with regard to some of these things. And at the time of the last meeting, Bill said, "I'm not satisfied, and I don't know that I could be satisfied. You need to show me it's feasible." So we submitted revised plans. I'd like to move them in, and then I'll turn it over to Bill and Jim. I do have, after we move the plans, and I have one comment. Did you have a chance to speak to our engineer, Jim?
No.
Okay. One comment with regard to Jim's plan, Jim's letter, was with regard to the width of the buffer you were requesting for the wall, it would impede truck turning movement, so we would just ask to work with you on that.
Work with me, because there's an awful lot of room there.
Okay, that was it. So I just want to put that on the record. So if I could,
Okay.
where did we leave off, Rachel?
We are at 8:05.
The 22nd of October. So A5, right, we left on at A4 at the October meeting, so A5 will be, let me just go to Bill's letter. The preliminary final site plan prepared by Dynamic Engineering, revised through 1/11/19. And A6 is the stormwater management analysis, also prepared by Dynamic, revised through 1/2019. And I think that, Bill, since so much of this went on in tech review, I'd ask you, I mean, the engineer's here and the architect is here to answer questions, but I really think it's more Bill and Jim.
It's Jim's turn now.
Okay. Okay, so Jim, you would like to read or synopsisize your report?
I've just got two issues. One is the width of the landscaped area at the eastern end of the site in front of the wall, which Jennifer just talked to me about. I'm willing to talk with her engineer and see, I reduced it. I originally asked for 20. I reduced it down to 18 feet. And I actually followed the line that looked like it was a line that was a striped area for the truck movements. So I think you need a wider area there than the 4 to 5 feet that they're providing. I think substantial trees need to be put in that area. It doesn't have to be 18 feet, if they can demonstrate to me that it should be less than 18 feet. And then the other thing is that there should be at least 39 additional replacement trees provided on the site. And I think of those, let me just find the number, 34 additional trees, and a minimum of 29 of them should be evergreen trees, because there are no evergreen trees shown on the site.
And we can agree to all of that. I just didn't want to commit to the 18 feet without having it engineered, so we would ask if the board was going to vote in favor, that the width of that island, or that buffer area, be worked out with Bill, and if it can't be the 18 feet, we'll supplement that it gives the same coverage. It just might not be that exact.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, because the 18 feet's not an order.
Bill, would you like to synopsisize or give your report or
Just
read it?
synopsisize, Mr. Chairman, we'll get right to it, okay? It's dated January 27th on the first page, that's the correct date, I forgot to change them on the other pages, so bear with me. However, there's some technical cleanup, as Jennifer pointed out in her opening statement. It's not going to affect what you see, it's all basically underground stuff with regard to how the berm and the basins are going to be stabilized. So it's nothing that I felt that was fair any longer to keep the board's place marker on the agenda, hold the applicant up any longer. We'll work it out. As I said, it's totally engineering, totally technical. It can be done.
Okay. That's all you have?
Yeah, I mean, unless there's specific questions for the engineer, I mean, we really went into it at great length at the last meeting, and it was just
There have been a lot of meetings on this.
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
a matter of satisfying Bill and Jim.
Board members, do you have any questions regarding this particular application? Dr. Di Benedetto, I thought you had a concern regarding trees at this site, if I recall correctly, or I might be mistaken.
You know, I think I do have a question about the trees. So are we,
Yes.
we're taking on trees, right? And replacing them?
Correct. We're going to agree with Jim's suggestion to add 34 trees and have 39 trees, and I think have 34 of them as evergreen. I think that was what he.
But how many are you taking down?
34 and 29 is
Oh, 34. How many are we taking down?
Yes.
I know it was offered in testimony at the last meeting. I don't know off the top of my head.
That's what I was reading here.
But we're going to comply with the tree ordinance with regard to replacement and or payment into the fund.
I'm really not interested in a payment in the fund. I mean, my position would be to add trees.
Understood.
I'm just giving my opinion.
No, I'm saying understood. Did I say that in a not nice way?
No.
Dr. Bueller?
Very nice.
I don't know, I felt like it was coming.
No, it wasn't.
Your recommendation
It was very animated.
is that if the board entertains a positive resolution or a positive vote, that it be conditioned upon adding trees, period, not
Correct.
giving to the fund.
Yes.
They're taking down 200 trees. I don't think it's possible to replace 200 trees on that site.
So they're taking down 200 trees and only replacing 40?
No, the 34 additional over what we already proposed to replace. How many total are we proposing? I don't know.
I have to look at the 39, they're proposing 39 trees. And what I'm saying is they should put in an additional 34 at a minimum, of which 29 of those should be evergreen. And there may be other places on the site where they can put them,
So
but there's not a lot of room left.
So 73?
73 trees, yes.
Yeah.
73 trees.
73,
The site requires
Now,
96.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
On that particular site, if I've got the right site, there's 200 trees you say are being taken down, but the quality of those trees
Yeah, it's
are
not
not the best,
great.
from what I can view.
That's one issue, and I think where the ordinance is a little bit weak is it talks about trees, but it doesn't talk about the quality of the trees at all. And I think that makes a big difference.
And I think also, I mean, it sounds to me, and I see, happy to see Jackie in the back of the room, so I know she'll have a comment on trees, that the ordinance gives the developer the opportunity to add the trees or make the payment. If the desire of the council and the mayor is that, you know, only a percentage should be allowed to be paid for and the rest should all be planted, then that's something that really should be looked at in the ordinance, but, you know.
I'll speak for myself on the council. As long as the money's going to eventually get used and not sit in a pot to never be used, I mean, I'll speak for myself. Pay it away. I'm fine with it. No disrespect, Doc.
None
Would I
taken.
prefer it
No,
be on? Sure. But if you're going to give me the money and then we're going to use it, cool. That works.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying, so I'm just addressing Dr. Benedetto that I get it, but right now the ordinance gives us the option, and if we're not asking for relief from it.
Just was being clear about you're taking 200 trees, some of them are not good,
Right.
and we're only replacing, what was it, 73?
So the 63,000 would not apply then. That number needs to change.
No, the 63,000 is the number after. Oh, you know what? No, it would be reduced a little bit. Yeah, that's right. Would be reduced a little bit.
Trying to save you money.
Thank you. No, it would be reduced by the trees that we're proposing.
Right. The extra 39. Got it.
And I mean, visually, the way they're proposed and the way that we've worked with Phil and Jim about where they're being planted, from an aesthetic standpoint, I don't think there's a concern. So the next question is just, you know, as we've heard, the tree canopy and having the tree replacement. I don't know that it makes a difference if it's in this industrial park versus somewhere else where it actually is going to have a greater benefit.
I mean, tree preservation is just, it is what it is, and anywhere, whether it be industrial or residential. I mean,
Agreed, but the trees are going to come down regardless. So what I'm saying is, whether the replanting is on this site or the replanting is off-site by the council somewhere else, the trees will be replanted.
I just don't like this money where I never see where it's ever being done with. And then somewhere along the line it gets used for something else. Yeah, no, that's okay. I'm fine right here.
We'll talk about that. So that was the question I was going to ask about, because we do have a lot of, semi-off topic, but if you bear with me.
I will indulge.
Thank you. We have a lot of money sitting in the Shade Tree Fund to do exactly what we're proposing. Plant them someplace else. We're waiting for the Shade Tree Commission to come up with the plan, and whether the RTI report needs to be done first or not. Right. Needs to be done or not. That's kind of what we're waiting for, Doc. But I agree with you. The money is just sitting there, and it ain't been spent.
That's right.
I mean, one thing that could be done, just to go off topic just for a minute, is that you have a lot of
Sit
very
back, Ken.
environmentally sensitive areas in the township that could have trees planted in them, even though they're treed areas. You could have additional trees planted that are indigenous species that would actually help those areas become more viable. And that's one thing I think that should be looked at.
Good point.
I thought we were going to add a ballard.
So it's 63,000. So it's reduced from 63,000.
Well, the 63, I'm just reading it. If I'm reading it correctly, that represented before Jim made the comment that he wanted 39 more streets.
It'll be about 57,000, a little more than 57,000. They'll still have to pay.
Okay. Apparently that seems like a good idea.
Any other questions from board members?
I do. I'm actually curious about the drainage issues. Could you just summarize what's left?
Yeah, they have some detention basins in the front yard of Brielle, and my concern was that the soils on this site are extremely sandy, to the point where some of the permeability rates are in excess of 40 inches per hour. It's like beach sand in places. So I want, in some places, along the easterly of the two buildings, toward the east end of the stormwater basin, the bottom of the basin is actually higher than the adjacent gutter line because we can't store it away now. So I wanted a lot more information on seepage, because the single biggest failure of dams is caused by seepage at the toe. while only a very small portion of this embankment is classified as a dam, there's a fair amount of it, probably 140 feet, which the bottom of the basin's higher than the road. If this thing is not detailed or constructed properly, water could seep out and cause that to fail, because the water's impounded some 5 feet in that basin. Having said that, if that ever did happen, that water heads to Highway 35, which is a really bad scenario. So what I wanted to know is, number one, is it feasible to be, regardless of cost, but where we are left is the final design of that berm and how it will prevent seepage from washing it out down the road.
But and our end, it is feasible. It's just a matter of getting.
It is feasible because they could always sheet pile it. It's not economically a great solution, but if you sheet piled it, they now make the plastic sheet piles that have a gasket. I don't know if you ever look at a sheet pile joint, it looks something like a hook and a. Now they make a joint, a gasket that fits in there, so you can actually make sheet pile basically impervious. So if that were in the core of the dam, or the embankment's not really a dam, that would solve the problem. That's not the greatest economic solution. So we are now at the point where we know it's feasible. So I have no problem getting it off the board's agenda, because whether they put in a concrete core, a clay core, a sheet pile core, it's going to be inside the thing, and you guys are not going to see it. You're not entitled to know about it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a visual thing. You're not going to see it from the street. You're not going to see it walking on the lawn. You're not going to see it from in the building. It's in the core to keep water from bleeding through the dam.
And are there performance guarantees that we can put in on?
Not anymore. That's the law now. As of January of 2018, just about a year ago, the state changed the bonding requirements for developments. So now the only thing that can be bonded are right-of-way improvements and a certain amount for cleanup of a site should a developer default in the process of the construction.
Let me jump in there. And there's some landscaping things also that they can add.
Yeah, well, cleanup of the site.
The performance bond is just to have it is just so the town can go in and do the work if the developer doesn't. In this particular case, if we don't do the work according to the plans as signed off by Bill, we don't get a CO. So the performance guarantee is really in the context of if you're doing a subdivision and you built 20 homes and you never finish the road. Well, the town's going to go and do it. What you can still bill the developers for, and which we do and we get it, is they calculate the cost of improvements, and then we have to pay a 5% inspection fee. So you have a Vakian's office who monitors the construction from beginning to end to make sure that everything's being constructed according to the plans. So the short answer is no, you can't go and put the sheet piling in yourself, but you won't have to, because we can't occupy the building till it's in.
And it's inspected, and then and if there's any changes, and sometimes field conditions, we're back and forth in touch between Vakian's office and myself.
But just to be fair, to Jen's comment, that's fine. We give you the CO, but if that doesn't work, then we don't have anything to hold. I mean, we'll give you the CO, and then you're off the hook.
Well, no, we're not off the hook. If our basin fails, or the basin something doesn't work and it's not constructed, even with a performance bond. Let's say we bonded for it.
Right.
And we put it in. The bond doesn't give you the ability to go in and fix it if it fails. That's what you're paying big bucks over here to review to make sure that it's going to work. What the bond allows you to do is to construct it if we don't.
Well, if it doesn't work, it's an indication that it wasn't constructed properly. I mean, that gets into a lawsuit.
Yeah, you're implying that it wasn't designed properly.
Well, but they could say that. But I mean, the bottom line is you could design something absolutely perfectly and have the contractor screw it up.
Right. That's right.
Okay. So what I'm saying is that isn't what the performance bond was for. The performance guarantee is to guarantee that the contractor and the developer performs according to the approved plans.
Correct.
And your guarantee for that in this instance is we don't get a CO until it's done.
Well, here's the other issue. If it doesn't perform, it becomes, especially in the case of a basin like this, it becomes obvious. And then they're in violation of their site plan. So then they can get dragged back in here and go to court over the violation. Because the site plan, I mean, there's a premise that there's an approved site plan, there's an approved design, it gets constructed properly, it's supposed to function. If it's not functioning, they're in violation.
I can guarantee you that should something be fully constructed and you don't discover it wasn't constructed right until after, the town ain't coming in and fixing it. The town's gonna issue a citation and say, figure it out, or you're gonna get a notice of violation and you have to fix it, and there's gonna be litigation between the contractor and everyone else that the town doesn't want a part of.
We have a couple of those going on right now, right?
No, no litigation.
No
up
litigation,
to
but
litigation,
plenty
right.
for reworks.
Yeah.
And there are ways to make sure that the developer jumps to.
Good. That's what I wanted to make
Yeah,
sure.
it used to be, temporary COs would be granted with the knowledge that you have a performance bond to back it up, and now it's gonna be much tougher for anybody to get a temporary CO.
Got it.
So, Bill, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Yeah, I think you made a statement that there was 140 feet that go, if it did seep out through that area, would end up on Route 35. My question, does that go along Valley Road, that 140 feet?
Yes. Did I say Real Avenue? I'm sorry, Valley Road, yes.
Valley
I'm
Road.
sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
No, you didn't say any road.
I think I did. I think I made a mistake.
I don't know. I don't think you did.
Okay.
But anyway, okay, I was just curious. All right, so is there anybody in the public that would like to comment regarding this particular application? Come on up.
Jackie Wenzel, 610 Deal Road. No, we just came downstairs from the pre-meeting and we were talking about the ERI, which is an inventory of our resources today. And again, yeah, taking down 200 trees seems in conflict with other members of the community that are with the Environmental Commission, where there was a big study done recently on our resources. And I guess I want to say, until the public and everyone gets to see this study, can we postpone approving the removal of 200 trees until everyone has a greater awareness of that, of what the situation is?
I wasn't privy to the meeting, and again, the 200 trees are coming down regardless. We have the right to take them down no matter what that study says. The only distinction is, do we have to pay and or plant according to the ordinance, or can we get some sort of waiver from that, as they've previously granted in the past, 15 trees per acre. This board and the council have made it clear they're no longer granting waivers.
No.
You have to abide by the ordinance.
Right.
So we're agreeing, we're abiding by the ordinance.
And,
But
and,
whether or not those trees come down are not a question.
and in addition, the Environmental Commission actually commended the applicant for agreeing upfront to make the donation, the entire donation.
Well, as the doctor said, it's not about the money. I think there are we live in a nationally, environmental issues are a problem right now, and we're not the only town having the conversation.
As
And
I've heard been said to you many times in public forums, the place you need to focus on is the ordinance, because right now we're complying with the ordinance.
I know the township doesn't always comply with the ordinance. There are many times that every tree that should be paid for has not gone into the system, and that's been another conversation that I'm not going to bring up now. Okay, but you live in town, yeah?
No,
Oh,
I
you
grew
don't?
up in town.
Okay.
Both my sisters and my mother live in town.
Well, there's been a dramatic difference in the amount of trees. I'm sorry?
We need to have comment.
Well, I've heard you had dialogue the whole meeting. I've been listening to dialogue. I'm sorry.
No, you heard dialogue between the applicant's attorney and the board members.
Okay. I'm not here to argue. I'm just here to say it's important, the trees. We all know that. And there is a very thorough study that has gone on right now that the township is taking seriously. And we are going to have meetings where the public is going to be informed of it. And the report's going to be wrong now because 200 more trees will be missing that are now on that report. We're going to have to make a correction there, who's ever, updating those things. What, Mr. Chair?
All right, I can't resist. We haven't done the report yet, right?
No, I thought it was almost completed.
No.
Can I just say? For
I
the
know,
record,
go for it.
No, can I just say for the record, because Jackie gets the microphone and speaks at every meeting. I've been practicing here for 20 years. I lived here my whole life up until 2009. And it's only with this recent administration that any board in town has required full compliance with the ordinance. So this administration and this planning board and this zoning board have taken the concern over trees very seriously and have done the extent that they're legally allowed to do is mandate compliance with the ordinance, and they've done it on every application I've been in.
I was going to actually say the same thing. I think every application that goes on, we basically
I don't even ask
question.
No, but I actually, Mr. Ochera had said I should work on a new ordinance and present it, and we're working on one right now. I'm working on one with Ray.
But
And
what I'm saying is, their hands are tied. The
No, I hear
ordinance
that.
is what it is, and they're enforcing it strictly. I don't even ask for a waiver anymore.
no, I understand that you have every right to take the 200 trees. I'm talking about reconsidering it. That's all. And I'm talking about, and I mentioned it the last time, but you shut me down that there was it was never going to happen. Why couldn't, instead of spreading wide, go up a floor to save trees? And what is the reason they won't do that or consider that?
Again, and I'll just briefly, this is a warehouse.
I understand.
This is a warehouse. Two-story warehouses don't work. They have to be one story.
They do in Manhattan all the time.
We're not in Manhattan.
I know.
Jackie.
I know.
No trees there.
No, I know. They're all gone. Can't save those trees. But Central Park was saved. Muir Woods was saved.
You
There
live
are
right
people,
across from Palea Park. It's one of the most beautiful parks
I know.
in Monmouth County.
and we're working on expanding that. I know.
Good work.
Okay. All right. So anyway, I would just recommend a design change and go up because I don't think one floor up is going to ruin our landscape. It is a flood issue because it is up on a hill. I drove by the site after the meeting the last time, and it is a bit up on a hill. So maybe your client will consider more environmentally friendly surfaces instead of blacktop. You know, it would be pervious. There are ground cover that could be a parking lot that would absorb water because if you put blacktop over that, it could really be a flooding concern.
Thank you, Jackie. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to make a public comment? Well, that being the case, would somebody please move
I'll
to
make a
close the
motion to
comment
close
session?
the public hearing.
I'll second it. Yep.
Yes.
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 Excuse me.
Yes.
Have a sip of water.
Thank you. Thank you, Doctor.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Would somebody make a motion for a positive resolution?
I'll make a motion. Oh,
She saw me first.
I'll second.
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Okay.
And I tried to go on record to say that I think you're doing a good job. Both, but I'm saying listen, there's definite change being made.
I wasn't trying to take that. I couldn't hear her.
No, both. Change is being made.
She's making it happen.
Yep. There's no trees coming down in the next application. I'm just letting you know that in advance.
Oh, maybe I can leave.
Adding and not cutting down.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's affecting you even.
Well, I think no.
There's no point.
And that's what I told you. You need to change it. So you don't better. We're taking down 110. How much money is it for what we do?
I was talking about it.
Hey, Jim.
They had all three,
Jim, how much money is in that shade tree fund? Do we know?
Hey, Jen.
Anybody know the answer to that?
Jen. Sorry.
Hello?
I saw Pete over the weekend.
There's a bunch
You know
of,
how much money is in the shade
And
carry
he
that for
mentioned
you?
that the development is concerned.
When's the big day?
Recent addition, I see.
All right.
That's my pile there. Oh, no. You know what? Can I ask a question?
Apparently,
The owner. Yes, I do.
We told you about saving trees, and here we are.
See my office.
take effect in February.
You would see some of the stuff we had.
Why can't we go digital? Why can't we have business for everybody?
Nice try.
Seriously.
I'm serious.
Do we have to
bring
go
my own.
petition the council? All right.
When
You
you
want to
leave,
be digital?
It's ridiculous already.
end of
I mean, I can
February.
email it all.
Right. I mean, yeah, we all get this.
For the record. Okay, as far as signing seals go, doesn't make it for your purposes, it make it.
You did it, you did it. So the client.
There is no such thing as a
They're
digital
in the same
seal
community,
that
they
I.
Sure.
live and deal. They don't want to make him angry, so they're trying to fix it.
Really?
But if you think about it, I cut copy paste your
I understand, maybe for you, but for us,
Leone. Okay. We have a carried case number 4, Leone Properties LLC, Block 183, Lot 6, 3501 Sunset Avenue, Ocean, New Jersey, Zone I-1.
Good evening again, everybody. Jennifer Krimk on behalf of the applicant. This one was an interesting one. The applicants were looking to just do a facade upgrade on the existing structure because, as sure if you drove by it, you saw it's kind of it was in a state of disrepair, one-story box with no architectural features at all. Long before I got involved, they went for building permits to do the renovation work, and the builder said, well, you know, it doesn't look great, let's build up a mansard roof and, you know, make it look pretty, which they did, not knowing that that triggered the need for a variance. So work was stopped. We made the application to come in for the variance as to the height versus the setback and said, well, we're going into the board, let's take a look at what else needs to be done, recognizing that Bill and Jim were going to require some site upgrades. So we're also here before you to get some signage approval, as well as make the site upgrades as was recommended in technical review meeting with Bill and Jim, and then followed up on the letter. So what this really is about is the current user and owner of the property wants to make the building look nice, and in doing so triggered the need to come to the board. So now we're here to present the aesthetic upgrades and what we can do by way of recommendation from Bill and Jim. If I can just move some things into evidence before you guys do it, because I'd like you to see the pictures, the color pictures, before Bill and Jim's get started. So A1 is the architectural plan set prepared by Mode Architects, and consists of 5 sheets, not 15 as in Bill's letter, and is revised through 1/9/19.
It's big, isn't it?
Well, I got scared that I didn't have the right plan set. 1/27/19. A2 in evidence, and I'm going to hand it out and move it in as a packet. I know that the architect does have a board with them individually. I'm going to move them in as one. It's 3 sheets. It's a computer-generated, color rendered proposal as to what this will look like should the board approve it, and we do that.
With all those trees?
Huh?
Wow, that's nice.
So you
I
said
think
no
that
trees are
means
involved?
No trees are being removed.
Okay.
This doesn't include the landscaping proposal. This is really just to show you what's being done to the
You have a
building.
nightmare about trees.
I would ignore the landscaping on this.
You don't like the trees, sister?
I love trees.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah, that's all we have to submit, and then I guess B1 is the building packet.
Where is this?
Sunset reality.
Where is this?
You would never even know it.
This is on,
Jeff, here's what it looks like. Want me to move this in just so it's on the record?
Yeah.
I'm gonna move this in. I don't have copies. I'll leave you one.
oh, I know where it is.
This is a photo of the building prior to the renovations being started. That'll be A3. I'm sorry I didn't make copies of it, and I'll just pass it out. If you look, and you'll see it was.
Just hold it up, yeah.
There's trees there, though.
We're not taking any down.
You're adding them.
We're adding
How many are you adding?
6.
6.
Oh, boy.
Half a dozen.
Every little bit.
I think
He wants
because
more.
they're adding trees, the township has to pay that.
Yes, you guys are paying us. What? Yes, you're paying us $350 a tree.
No. Keep that up.
Okay,
They added
so
16.
I'll defer to Bill and Jim, and then I'll introduce my architect, and we'll go through what we're proposing.
Okay, who would like to go first?
I'll summarize rather than read the whole thing. But they're proposing, as Jen said, architectural changes to the building, Roof parapet, and I guess we need some testimony on that. We're looking at the rendering, trying to figure out where that is, what that exactly means.
Here, let me move in A4. Sorry. This is a during construction photo,
Okay,
and it shows where the parapet was
Okay.
constructed.
okay.
So
It was my understanding that was being removed.
why they
No, it's
stopped
going
that
in.
because they
Going in,
broke
okay.
that.
Yes, because once you raise the height,
And that's what,
it requires an additional setback.
I don't see it on that.
Because that's the final product. That's it.
Oh, that's it.
That's done.
Oh, okay.
They're gonna
A little
do
bit taller.
That,
3 awnings on the building over the entries, a building mural, facade mural, which I'll get into a little
Very
bit,
pretty.
and then a freestanding sign, and there's gonna be parking lot and lighting improvements, I think the bill had requested, and also the installation of 6 trees. The variances that are necessary, it's an undersized lot, it's a 37,000 plus square foot lot, and the ordinance requires 40,000, so because they're technically increasing the building, they need that variance. There's nothing to be done about that. Minimum front yard setback, they're actually improving the setback on Sunset Avenue, increasing the setback a little bit, but it's gonna be setback 41.3 feet from Sunset Avenue, and they're reducing the setback on Brielle Avenue only because of the awnings.
And the way
The
that
building
we're,
itself, the
just
facade
to,
is
just to answer,
a,
the way that we're improving this setback, currently, if you look at that picture, I don't know if it's in there, there was, an overhang that we're
Yes.
removing, so that's how we're reducing the
yeah,
setback.
they removed an overhang and then the parapet set back a little bit farther, so they're actually increasing the setback from Sunset Avenue. They need a variance for a wall sign. The ordinance does not permit wall signs, and basically what wall signs are signs where the lettering is either attached directly to the wall or it's painted on the wall. And the mural is technically a wall sign according to the ordinance. So basically, I just said the information they provided really wasn't enough to determine how this was going to look, and I think it was important that more information be given. It's my understanding that they're in the process of designing it, and
I emailed that to you, I don't know if you
yes,
got it.
yeah, I did get it. And so it's a matter of whether the board feels it's appropriate. I think it's attractive, but that's all in the eye of the beholder. The other issue is that the freestanding sign is going to be a low sign that's 3-sided, and because of the configuration of that intersection, the ordinance only permits 2-sided signs. This would be 3-sided, but I think it's appropriate in this location. It's a unique site. The intersection, because of the topography of the road, which comes up right to the height of the intersection is a little bit offset. It's not a straight cross intersection at 90 degrees. So I think this allows the sign to be seen from all directions when somebody's approaching the site. The location of the freestanding sign is supposed to be set back 15 feet from the property line. If it's set back 15 feet from the property line, it'll be in the middle of the parking lot. So I don't see any other place to put it but right in that location. And again, it's not a large sign, and I think it's appropriate for that location, and the setback is appropriate. Design, the ordinance requires all site plans have a landscape plan prepared by a landscape architect, and that's not the case now. I will go into the issue that the Environmental Commission submitted a report earlier, and then they submitted one that I got today. Most of the things that they suggest in that report are things that I had considered. One of them is to provide grass along the Sunset Avenue side of the site. And I looked at that, and my initial reaction was we should put grass there. Then went out looking at the site. That slope is so steep. If you put topsoil and seed, it's going to erode. If you put sod, the applicant is going to have to put a sprinkler system in immediately to make that sod grow. And the fact that he's coming in here simply to improve the appearance of the building and the appearance of the site, I felt it was better to wait. He has expressed a desire in the future to actually expand the building once they get on their feet, get the business going, get on their feet, and to come in and have an actually bigger building and do more site improvements. And I figure it's better to wait until then. I suggested that they put the trees along Sunset Avenue, and they actually put one along Brielle Avenue also. And the Environmental Commission was talking about tree canopy and thought that the trees should be trees with a broader canopy. The ones I suggested are ginkgo trees. They're more columnar, but they're about the hardiest street tree you can put on a street. And this area is extremely tough. I felt that in order to ensure the survival, that would be the best species of tree to put there.
And we may be the only site in that whole area back there, except for the one that you just approved on Brielle, that even has street trees. We looked
Yes,
up and
that's
down
right.
that whole way. I mean, there are none.
Yeah. And the Environmental Commission also suggested some screening around the trash area, which I don't have a problem with. I think that should be discussed tonight.
And just to that end, just so the board knows, and we'll get in it through testimony, but just think about currently and as was approved at some point, I don't know how it got there, there is no trash enclosure. So right now there's a dumpster that sits on some gravel with nothing, and at Bill and Jim's request and the client's expense again, just to try and make it look better, we're actually moving the dumpster out of the front yard and putting it on concrete and putting the proper enclosure around it. So after we get through all the testimony, we'll talk about future plans and what we want to do. But again, this is a small business owner who did not expect this kind of expense, just trying to fix the building a little bit. And they're doing everything they can to keep the business alive and meet the ordinance requirements, and they're just looking for the board for some balance. But we'll get into all of that through the testimony. I just want you to keep in the back of your mind.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask him a question now, or you want to wait?
Let's wait for Bill's report.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be quick. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I have a report dated January 24th, and the number of sheets should be 5. That's correct. I apologize. I met the applicants and their architect on the site, and I don't have too many issues understanding exactly what's going on, so I'll be really quick. I thought some pavement might want to come out next to the driveway. I understand it might be a little bit difficult, so if it's going to be striped as shown on the plan, then it should be signed fire lane, and then that way people won't park on the striping. There's some stalls that head into the building along Brielle, and we have a one-way circulation pattern. Those stalls are to be angled about 5 degrees, just enough to encourage people to respect the one-way, because the entrance driveway closest to Sunset is very close to the intersection, so I just didn't want to see too much movement at that. In is fine. Refuse area we just talked about, just move it back out of the front yard. I'm recommending strongly indeed that you do the pavement maintenance, because it'll keep you from having to pave the site, which is way more expensive than the maintenance if you do it right. And then they agreed, and they're showing on the plan, to replace the building mounted lights that were there when I met them with some down lights that probably do a bit better and more in compliance with the ordinance. But you'd have to tear the whole site up to do a real lighting plan, so we're just going to they're just proposing to replace, as we discussed on the site, the existing fixtures with fixtures that are more compliant. Maybe do a little better job for the area. Other than that,
That's
good
it.
to go.
Okay.
So with that, I'd like to introduce you to Daniel Conditori. He has not testified here in the past, so I'll have him sworn in and offer his qualifications, and then kind of go through what we just went through.
Absolutely.
Nick?
Okay.
No, I'm sorry, Nick does this. I forget board to board.
Yeah,
because
no,
of
it takes
swearing in.
it. Do you swear you the testimony you're about to give is the truth and the whole truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Just state your name, Daniel. Just give them the benefit of your licensure and experience.
My name is Daniel Conditor. I'm the owner of Mode Architects. We're located in Asbury Park, New Jersey. I graduated from Roger Williams University in 2001 with a Bachelor's of Architecture degree, and I've been licensed in the state of New Jersey since 2008. And I presented in various boards in Monmouth, Ocean County, and up and down the East Coast.
Okay, we accept that.
All right, so Daniel, just remember to talk into the microphone. You're, yeah.
Yep. And Daniel, can you do me a favor and back it up a little? Thank you.
Yes, everything's the same.
Thank you. Oh, that's beautiful.
Recognizing that sometimes less is more, so you don't have to get flowery with it.
Yep.
But
I'll keep it simple.
Let's also. What?
Says you.
Come on. Excuse me. I know exactly what needs to get in, which is why I try to get it all in.
Sure you do. Let's hear the whole
That
story.
was a good one.
Sorry. Let's hear the whole story.
Daniel, if you could walk the board through what's existing there today and what we're proposing and confirm that we can comply with the recommendations made by the board's professionals.
Sure, absolutely. So currently today, as you know, the building sits on the corner of Sunset and Brielle, and it fronts the main entrance of the building is facing Sunset Avenue, and there's currently a paved area that, you know, comes around the corner and on the side of the building. At this time, it's just, you know, basically paved. There's not really any striping. Parking is kind of random. There's no direction on the site right now. The improvements that we're making to the building, primarily are on the front. I know we submitted the picture that you saw. We did highlight it. I know it was a question earlier. There's the new parapet. If you look at the site plan that we provided, is really on a little bit on the side and across the front. So basically, in general, the back of the building is higher, and then at one point the building stepped down to the front and then cantilevered over, and that was also the cantilever about 3 feet over the front that we're pulling back. So
we're just pulling the front corner and the front up to match what's existing.
Exactly. We're not increasing the height of the building at all. We're just squaring it off to make it more of a clean box to help with the architecture. So, and then a part of that is adding the two awnings on the side, and then we have an awning in the front.
That's really just for aesthetics.
Just for aesthetic purposes, yes. And then on the main corner in the intersection is the three-sided sign that we talked about, where it's kind of like an acute angle here where the property sits at Sunset. So we try to propose a three-sided sign. So as you come from Sunset, you have a direct view. As you come up from 35 towards Sunset, there's a view, and then as you come from Brielle. So it kind of kills all the views for each approach.
And Daniel, in an effort to keep expenses down, you know, based on what we're doing here, other than the removing the pavement, could we comply with everything in Bill and Jim's letters that they requested?
Absolutely, yeah. We were able to slide back the compactor that he suggested.
And then we would propose to stripe it, but we would label it the fire lane as he had indicated, because removing it would require potentially redoing curbing and moving the curbing and everything else. So
yeah, that's fine. And those two areas here, these two striped areas that are currently paved. We'll stripe them, and we'll add the right language on there.
And we still meet the parking. We don't need a variance for that. It's just you basically have a free-for-all in the parking area, which we discovered when we went and met on site.
That's correct. Yeah.
And we're proposing to clean it up and really give it some structure.
Yes, and these are the spots here. So as you enter, there's a curb cut closer to Sunset. Most people come in on this first turn, and it's a one-way, and they exit along the side. So he suggested that we make these spots slightly angled, since it's easier to pull in and pull out, and that's not a problem with us.
With regard to the mural, the client had found the picture of the tuna that she wanted to use and gave it to you, and you were able to generate it here. What's being proposed will be hand-painted by a muralist. So
yes,
it's our intent that it will look like this and will be of this color scheme. It may not, it might be more abstract than this, you know, but it's going to closely resemble this in color and design.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's not a graphic, is what you're saying.
No,
It will be hand.
Correct. It's going to be hand painted on the building.
You want to pull up that image now?
Is this a retail store?
Currently, right now there's no retail, but it's been approved to add the minimum amount of the maximum amount of retail that's permitted under the ordinance. So it will be some, but it's almost entirely online with the exception of the percentage. But that's why they want to dress up the building, because to introduce the retail, they want to now make it attractive for people to come there. Did we hit everything?
That is everything.
I think we hit it all.
I have a question.
How abstract is this fish going to
Color
get?
scheme?
Only kidding.
Excuse me?
The color scheme of the building itself?
Sure.
As far as this rendering goes?
Yeah.
Are the awnings really going to be green?
Yes. This is something that it's working with the branding. If you go on their website and the way they market themselves, we pulled these colors from the branding of the company.
And I just had a question on the sign. It looks like you've got Fisherman's Source on the top, and it looks like there's a blank area on the bottom. Is that for another tenant? Is it for or is that just the design of the sign, or what's the?
I can. It's a placeholder. Like you said, we're going to talk about some stuff in the future, and should they have another tenant, they want to have that panel approved now, but it'll be blank at this time.
Right, and just so the board knows, this lot is much larger than the area that the building takes, and the hope is once they develop this and recoup some of the money spent during this process, that they may want to expand the building, and actually at that point they recognize it'll be a full site plan, full redesign of parking lots, lighting, landscaping, everything.
What was the reason behind the non-mural ordinance?
To put it in very plain language,
Please.
to try and prohibit tacky signs where people just wanted to paint a sign up on the front of their building, and there was a feeling, I think, that wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing thing. I don't think there was ever an intent to try and prohibit murals. Something that would be very attractive.
You mean people, instead of putting up a real sign,
Yes,
just
yeah, we
painting it on?
just paint a sign on the building, yeah, or just slap some lettering on a building, and it just didn't seem to have the same kind of control. This is something that I think went back even before I was the consultant here, was in the ordinance.
So a long time
Yeah,
ago.
a long time ago, yes.
This could be beautiful.
Probably put in there just have more control over this type of sign.
Okay.
Daniel, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
The curb cut
Yeah.
on Brielle.
Yes.
'Cause I pass there every day going back and forth to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big curb cut there. It's pretty big, right?
Yeah, I think it's 15 feet. Yeah.
But there's no curb cut coming in from Sunset, is there? Or I'm
No,
not-
there's no curb
Right.
on Sunset.
So
no.
it's just that one.
There's two curb cuts on Brielle.
On Brielle, right?
Yeah.
I've always noticed. I guess I didn't see in betweeners. Not a curb cut, so I'm glad it didn't turn in there. But it looks like one big long curb cut. Okay, very nice. So I have anyone else? Nobody else? Okay. Anybody in the audience have any commentary? Okay, no commentary. So I guess we can.
Make a motion to close the public debate.
Second.
Certainly. There was none. Okay. How about a motion to positive approval?
I'll make a motion for positive approval.
Second. It was. Yes.
Yes. We didn't vote
Yes,
on
they
it.
did.
We didn't vote
Well,
to close.
there was-
We just
Oh, they made the motion.
Well, I'm sorry, I made a motion to close the public hearing.
I did second that.
But there was no public hearing.
Well, but he said there was no public hearing.
There was no public hearing, but you have to close that.
You have to close it
You still have to
anyway.
close it, I guess. Yeah.
I'm still a yes.
Just for fun.
Yes.
Yeah, which one? That one?
Yes.
Yes.
John?
Yes, sorry.
Good morning. Yes.
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 Now the motion to approve.
I'll move that.
Second. Yes.
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 Bless you.
Yes. Congratulations.
Just while we're still on the record, I just want to thank Bill, Jim, and Ron, because I know it's a pain in the ass to have all these technical review meetings and go over it, but it really makes it easier for everybody, including the applicant, to be able to come and have it clean and have an understanding as to what it's going to take. So, put that on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Julie noted she said after she got approved and before she got approved.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Yeah, guys.